Hello everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm Chibi Noob.
I'm Envy Jitters.
I'm CheerandCosplay.
And I'm Kozi.
And we're back once more where we're back in the Collect Them All tournament last week. What is it? Zoids beat Gundam Build Fighters, and we're moving on this week to our next contenders in the action figure category. We have Black Rock Shooter versus Transformers. So, quick question. Anyone seen these before?
No.
Yeah.
Never heard of Black Rock Shooter, and my only experience with Transformers is the first 4 Michael Bay movies. So
First 4, wow.
Actually,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I
Wow.
saw the 1984 Transformers.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I do want to see Bumblebee. I heard that one was good, but my experience with Transformers is kind of
Michael
skewed.
Bay.
Yeah.
All I know, I know of Transformers. I've never obviously seen the show, but I only know of Black Rock Shooters because the opening song is a Vocaloid song that I remember from when I was in high school.
And we will definitely get to that. So,
What Vocaloid is it?
Miku.
I thought that's
it's
the only...
Literally called Black Rock Shooter, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, that is the name of the song.
Okay, so any other things before we get started, or should we just get right into it?
We should probably get into it. We can optimize this process.
Yeah, probably. All right, so we'll start with Black Rock Shooter, because that was the first one that I said. So this show, if I'm not mistaken, this started as a line of figures that eventually they started creating characters and plots around the figures themselves. So I think, much like Transformers, the toys predate the story.
No.
Am I crazy?
It was not.
It
was
was
not.
a sketch.
Oh God, I can
And
look this up to
then
make
they
sure.
made...
Didn't it start off as like a 50-minute OVA? Then it made
Yeah,
it like
they
didn't
made
it like
it in...
didn't they do like a video
So-
game and then a
Yeah.
series?
So Black Rock Shooter originates from the song, then got an OVA, then turned into a series of video games, and then manga. Then the anime, the first one, came out in 2012. The figures and stuff all just kind of came about because I believe for the game, and it just had such a
the
huge
figures
online
are from the
following.
games.
Okay.
So, that's the only reason it actually, got different properties. It's kind of like other stuff that's sort of based on Vocaloids a little bit, because they had another IP, forget what it was called, but it got turned into a manga, and then an anime, and it was all based on a Vocaloid song.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
But if what
Okay,
I'm
but
hearing is
the
correct,
sketch itself that conceptualized Black Rock Shooter existed prior to the Vocaloid song.
okay. Makes it difficult to put it in any particular category. I think we just stuffed it here in the figures thing because that makes the most sense, I guess.
I don't know if it really counts as one of these shows then.
Well, it's
don't
here,
either,
and
but
we
we're
can't
going
replace
with
it because I'm not
It's
taking the
here.
time
By the
to
time,
put another goddamn
by the time
thing
it was
in.
the anime, it was made to just sell stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, it was made to sell something, granted. But is it made to sell the songs or the video
No.
I
games? I don't know.
genuinely, and I'm gonna be real with you here, I don't understand Vocaloid as a concept. So
You
yeah.
just,
Oh
I
God.
mean, it's just a voice synthesizing program.
Yeah.
And then you put music
Vocaloid-
to it, and you make
Vocaloid
songs.
doesn't,
That's it.
sell things, really.
No.
Until
It's-
after Project Diva.
Okay.
Yeah. Project Diva, and then also just people just got really into the certain worlds, quote unquote, that people made based on them. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying.
Okie
That makes
dokie. As
sense.
weird as this is, I'm not replacing it at this point because we're already here. So
All right.
No, it-
wherever the fuck
The
this
anime
is.
series itself was the last thing made, and it was made to sell the video games and the figures, so it's good where it is.
Cool. There we go. All right. That's nice and happy. Good to hear.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm on the wiki.
Plot.
What did you say the last thing was that they made?
Should have been the anime. They just came out with season 2.
Yeah, they just got the
something called
Downfall
Downfall.
just
Yeah,
came out.
okay, cool. We're all on the
really?
same page. Yeah, so this show is about a girl dealing with her burgeoning
Trauma, depression.
Well, I was gonna say interest in another girl, and
yeah,
these guys are all gay, right?
They're very gay.
Yeah.
Very gay.
It's very gay.
Mhm.
Okay, good for them.
This was very targeted at boys.
Yeah, that too. And she's having, and her, life trauma is being represented by fantasies of her as a super being. It's kind of like Doug with Quail Man.
Wait, are you sure it's not an alternate universe?
Dude,
Wow, that's
if it was an
not-
alternate universe, they
we-
should have established that it was an alternate universe a lot faster.
We're squashing that topic in case Black Rock Shooter moves on.
Okay, so we're not going to
because
spoil
it's
anything if
only-
anything is spoiled. From my perspective on this, well, you know what? I'll get into that with the plot. Anyway, so there's two simultaneous things going. You have the real world stuff with main girl, quiet girl, and bitchy girl, and then a couple other people are also there, and they're all just like a mess, like a traumatic mess.
Yep.
And then you have
about
this other side of things where, which I'm assuming all the figures are just fighting each other with cannons and spider wheelchairs and chains and all sorts of hootenanny. Actually looks a lot like Madoka Magica, a little bit. But like someone who wanted to add more angst to Madoka Magica, I guess. If that makes sense.
Just really quickly, because it kind of explains some of what they are. They don't ever really go over their names for you, so... Main girl, that's our Black Rock Shooter.
Black Rock Shooter, yeah.
The chain girl is called Death Hanger.
I'm going to call her Chain Girl.
Spider with
Death
wheels
Hanger.
is Chariot. And for some reason, the red one is called Black Gold Axe. Don't ask me why.
I wasn't going to because none of it makes sense anyway. It's fine. I'm fine with it. Did I miss anything? Please let me know.
No, because honestly, none of it it was very surreal in all the ways that an anime can be.
I mean, I think I've seen some anime that get a little more surreal than this at times, but yeah, I agree with you.
Just the jumps didn't really make a whole lot of sense. They were just kind of there.
Basically, she's
anyway.
fighting it in her head to accomplish something in real life, dealing with these issues.
I'm still standing by. I think it's a mirror universe and they're fighting in the other universe. I don't know.
Well, you know what? According to the last Doctor Strange movie, our dreams are just our, other realities in another reality.
True.
Blah, blah, blah. So if you want to go by that logic, yes, this is an alternate universe where this is actually happening. I don't know.
It's just the fact that, they keep talking about exploring many worlds and stuff, and then it immediately cuts to this other place. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's implying that it's an alternate universe. I could be wrong, but
I
that's
just
my
assumed
headcanon.
that it was either a weird translation or the girl herself is just a weirdo. Like,
I think she's having dreams from another universe.
I
Like
hear
another
you.
universe version of herself.
I hear where you're coming from, but at the same time, I also went to middle school with a bunch of people who talked like this, and everyone was like, why are they talking like that?
All right.
So specifically, you're talking about the girl with the glasses and the main girl talking about visiting different worlds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the property they're both into. The bird thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just called that?
Yeah, it's
Well,
like
no,
a
no, no.
children's book or something like
yeah,
that.
and it
Yeah, I
travels
remember
to
that.
different worlds and sees, everything.
Okay.
So, that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, she's defined her personality based on a childhood picture book.
It's like Rainbow Fish.
Yeah. Honestly,
Wow.
yeah. It does look like Rainbow Fish a little bit.
She wants
Well.
to see a million colors.
Yeah, and they're all on the Rainbow Fish or the Rainbow Winged Bird. I don't know. I think that's everything. There's a girl in a wheelchair who, you know what?
She's a psychopath.
Hang on. Yeah, we should say there's
Yeah.
a, yes. Well, sociopath at the very least.
She's something.
Yeah.
Very
There's
sick
abusive
brain.
relationships and whole lot of shit going around and every fucking person in this show is depressed in one way or another. So, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We want to talk any more about this, or should we just start going into plot?
I don't really think there's anything more to discuss.
Just start ranking.
Okay. All right. I figured, like, since I think we left off with Yin last time for the last category in the last episode. So, Chibi, why don't you start?
So I get plot.
Yep, you're starting with plot.
Okay. So, I'll be honest. I'm a nay. Mostly just in the fact that, like, as far as the plot goes, like, I don't mind the whole magical realism, alternate worlds, like, part of it's us, like, you know, being in the real world, but then what are we doing? Are we fighting our own depression in our heads? Are we actually, like, going to other worlds? Like, is this another reality? Is this just, like, where, like, instead of them being, you know, like, normal humans going to school, like, instead they're, like, super powered fighters or monsters, like, just all fighting each other. And maybe it would make more sense later on. But I don't know. I wasn't feeling very engaged. So I would give this one a nay, but that's just my thoughts personally.
See, I kind of cheated myself a little bit, and after I watched the first 3 episodes, I kind of looked on Wikipedia at the different. I didn't go into the plots of 4 through 8, but I did kind of.
It's spoiled if you read the character stuff.
Well, no, I pretty much looked at the. I pretty much wanted to know what it was, because again, I never heard of this series, and apparently the story of the video game is very different compared to the anime. So, like, they use the characters in the world in a very different way. So, so basically, the video game story uses the characters, particularly in the one weird fighting world, very differently than the anime does. So in that context, I kind of liked how they used the characters from I'm just going to call it the fighting world. I don't know what else to call it. The fighting world to represent the mental instability of the main characters. I mean, it's nothing incredibly deep, but I still was fascinated by the world and its tone. For me personally, I liked how it kind of, you know, delved into the one girl's, I'm terrible with names, the girl with the glasses, I liked how they kind of, you know, delved into, you know, her backstory, and then the twist with the girl and stuff like that. So I actually didn't mind it. It's this 2012 anime is only 8 episodes, so like even if this doesn't move on, I think I would definitely be interested in watching the rest of the show. So I am just interested in seeing what the plot, how the rest of the story will go. So I'll give this like a light yay.
This one was a yay for me. I think maybe it's because, like, I do have depression, and I have known people like the wheelchair bitch.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt kind of satisfying seeing her go into the dream world and, like, fight these things.
Even though she got fucked up most of the time?
Yeah, she got hit by a lot of trains. Like, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. She's already in the other world, so she's not going to get isekai'd.
That's by Truck-sama. Excuse you.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
No, it's Truck-kun.
Truck-kun.
What about Train-sama?
So, yeah. This is a yay for me. I found it kind of cathartic.
Okay, I have a question. Because I have seen this before. I've seen a lot in the actual franchise. Should I be basing my answer off of only these 3 episodes?
I would say yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, it would probably be a nay for me then. I do agree with Chibi, like, the plot is a little hopping back and forth, and within just these 3 episodes, we're not given enough context about what's going on. So it's all just kind of a confusing mess where you have a general idea of what's going on, but then there's a bunch of other shit that you're like, what is that? So, yeah.
Kind of coming along the same lines as you guys. I'm a meh here. I think there is some good storytelling here with the relationships of the girls and everything, and like what's going on with them and how everything's happening. But at the same time, it's kind of like a little confusing at certain moments, because you at least at this point, I have no idea how this fighting stuff, as good of a, I guess, visual metaphor as it is for your internal struggles in that, it's also like, is this relevant? Or could we be, like, working through the plot a little bit more? Because, like, I don't know. I think the drama is good, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know how this is all connecting entirely, but then also at the same time, kind of like, to some degree, I don't really know where to talk about this, because it's kind of an overall thing for the show for me. So I don't really have the perfect category to put this in, but it kind of feels like one of those shows or properties in general that people kind of glom onto and are like, well, if you don't like it, you clearly didn't understand it.
The hipster
Kinda
argument.
like-
You
I'm
feel
not
like
saying-
it felt pretentious or something?
Well, I don't know if pretentious is the right word for it.
Yeah, it's not
That's a fair
supposed to be like an introduction to the franchise.
Well, then that's a problem. But yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe that's why I'm getting this feeling of like it's feeling like it's trying to say something deep that's not as deep as it thinks it is.
It's not that deep. That is
Okay.
not why people
Okay,
enjoy
I feel-
the series.
I feel a little more justified in my judgment then. But yeah, overall, I give this a meh.
I was gonna say, I know this does not matter at all, but like the MAL score is kind of low for this series, so like you're not the only one.
I feel like if this is like you guys are saying, and it's one of those, you have to already be familiar with everything in this thing. You can't just like jump into it. That does knock a couple points. No matter what the adaptation is, you kind of knock a couple points if you can't just jump into it. It's
will
kind of a poor
honestly
adaptation at that
say-
point.
Most people prefer the 50-minute one.
Well,
the
we weren't going to fit
original
that in a
animation.
tournament, unfortunately.
No, I know.
Yeah.
All right, am I up?
Yeah.
I'd give it a light yay. I thought that I was engaged pretty much through the plot, and I did like the emotional relationship stuff that was going on with the girls. I don't see that very much. I don't know. Like, I thought it was something that a lot of people can relate to. I thought it, psychologically was interesting because, lots of people, have that problem of, just a fucked up person, like, ruining their life and then, having the strength to get through that is really hard. So, like, I enjoyed those parts, and I didn't find the parallel story confusing. At times I found it heavy-handed. Like, I felt like it was just too much. Like, okay, we get it. Like, they're just doing the same emotional core as the main story. So it kind of felt a little meh to me at times, but I thought the fights looked cool. And I really do like the character designs that I guess the Vocaloid and the figures and all of that had. I definitely thought a lot of them looked interesting. But overall, I thought the plot was pretty good. Like, I was interested most of the time, so I'd give it a light yay.
Okay. Speaking of, you mentioned characters, we should probably like move into that next. Envy, I think you're leading this one off.
Yes. It's kind of weird because the first 3 episodes are the introduction to the world, basically. Like, you do have a setup. Like, the main girl, she's your typical main high school girl. It's just that she's obsessed with colors because of that children's book. Like, it talks about a million colors, so she loves seeing the color and everything, wants to see a million colors. So that's like her big, I guess, defining trait, I suppose. But she tries to befriend Glasses Girl, and there's a why is she so self-secluded? Why does she, feel so depressed? Well, then you find out that, oh, it's because the other girl kind of got into an accident in front of her, and now the mother and her feel guilty about it. And so they basically, I don't even know if they raise her, but they basically let her come over all the time. And
No idea.
the
Very unclear.
yeah, so the girl is like, "Oh well, you caused this, and now you got to because you caused my legs to be broken. Now you gotta be basically my friend and only my friend my entire life," which is obviously very abusive and manipulative and not healthy at all. So I did kind of like that redemption for main girl telling glasses girl to hey, you could feel bad, but you can't have your life tormented or run by this girl. So I did like that mini arc. So otherwise, that's kind of it really for the characters. Like main girl, I guess, kind of has like a best friend that's on the basketball team with her, and then you get the basketball captain who's got her own insecurity issues, trying to try to ask a boy out, and then she gets fucking humiliated in front of the whole school, and she kind of took that way better than I would. But I'll give her
Right?
credit for that. And then you have the school psychologist, and I called that she'd be a villain by the second episode. I'm thinking she's way too nice, and she's not giving off the best advice at all. So I'm thinking there's something up with her. And then by the end of the third episode, you're like, oh, she's probably a psychopath that's connected to that other world. So it's more intrigue for the final 5 episodes for me. So I guess characters are a light yay to a meh because, again, it's more introductions for me rather than, defining characteristics right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think I agree with Envy on this. We don't get to see too much of them past, their introduction. We don't have an explanation for the other world, so we don't know what they're like in that, what their purpose is there. I think they're adorable. I'm a little concerned with Blackrock Shooter's outfit, being she's a first-year middle schooler. What's that, 12?
I thought they were in high school.
No, they were middle school.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anime. Everyone's a nebulous age of both being a child and possibly an adult at the same time.
Yeah. So that was a little bit alarming to see that discovery, but they're meh to light yay, I think.
I'm honestly probably the same. Watching it back, I wanted to love it as much as I used to, and I think they were older in the original animation. But the fact that she's 12 in the booty shorts and the bikini that doesn't completely cover her. Oh wait, you guys haven't seen that yet.
I mean, we've seen Blackrock Shooter.
Not in her full canon outfit yet. She's still pretty covered up.
Okay.
You could probably just look it up.
I've had to look up
It's
pictures
scammy.
to do stuff. Yeah.
Whoa, what are you doing to the pictures?
I have to edit shit.
Also,
You notice these people are in the thumbnails for these videos?
I don't actually like that they give a redemption for Chariot. I don't think that makes any sense.
Yeah, that was so sudden. That was definitely one of my problems too.
And honestly, it feels like the characters are kind of portraying the wrong messages. The red-haired girl. They're oh, she's just repressing all her shit. But in actuality, how she was coping with it is actually a really healthy way of coping, but they were portraying it as unhealthy. They're all very interesting characters, and I think if it advances, and you guys get further into the plot, they're definitely great characters. It's just so uncomfortable when you're older watching it back instead of a preteen watching it.
Yeah, I think I'm a light yay here. I think like you guys were saying a little bit, and like I was saying a bit with the plot, interactions between them and their motivations and everything, it's very interesting, and they feel like, even if we're not seeing everything, they do feel like fully thought out and developed on their own. And I feel like we will get to see more of that if this does go on. And that's probably a result of these are characters from something else. There's already a ton of development and blah, 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 and they're already like fully fleshed out. So that works in their favor for that. But like you are saying, yeah, they do have some issues. I'm wondering, the wheelchair girl, is it that she's immediately redeemed for saying sorry? Is that just the usual anime thing of my enemy is now my friend in the next episode? I don't know. I didn't think they would go that route. If that is what's going to happen, that's a little weird and unrealistic.
It kind of gets explained.
Well, it didn't here, so I can't go with it. I think, that kind of pulls my going from like a full-on yay to, I gotta go light yay. But, yeah, and some of the reactions, I'm a little, like, I know they're in middle school, and, people are going through puberty, and, people are very emotional and have very big emotions at that time. So it's like, but I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, our main character is going up to Glasses Girl, like, she's honestly a little obsessed. In a weird way, it feels like to me. You've known this girl, like, 4 days. And you're like, I have to see her. I can't believe she didn't see me. I'm like, you're a little clingy. And I don't know why.
Well, that's another, like, contradictory thing they fall into. Because she's supposed to be unpopular. And the reason she's trying to cling so much to Glasses Girl is because, like, they have a common interest.
Yeah, see,
but then they show her being really well liked by all of her classmates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's a little off. It's good, but it's a little off in places where I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll give this a light yay. Can't give you the full-on one, though. So, yeah.
Yeah, I felt kind of similar. I would give it kind of a meh, but leaning towards maybe a light yay, but I'm gonna say like meh on characters. Just, I think it's mostly because that Chariot or whatever her name is annoyed me so much. I think she was a good villain, like obviously a villain, but I think in the end it was just like all of a sudden, I don't know if it was the power of friendship or something, but it just seemed like, oh, she's okay now and everything's fine, and it was just like, no, she needs, like, a lot of therapy or something. No. She actually...
They magically cured her by beating her the fuck up.
I have no idea whichever way. It was ridiculous.
Is this Persona?
No.
Maybe.
No.
Okay.
I don't know. Either way, it bothered me because, I just think it sent, like, a weird message about... I don't know, something about all you have to do is be nice to this person and everything will be okay. And it's like, no, she's not going to change for a very long time. And you should get out of there because she's carving hearts into your chest. That is scary. Anyway, that bothered me. Otherwise, I thought the characters were pretty good all the way through. And like, even with Chariot, I think she's a good character. I just don't like that she was like magically a good guy in the end. And I think the other ones, I cared about their relationships. I liked them overall. I think they were cute, likable characters. Some of them are, like Glasses Girl's a little one-dimensional. Like, she's not that interesting. But I think her relationship with the other girls is interesting. I think the weird counselor is interesting. So I really enjoyed all the characters overall. I think it just pushed it down to a meh because I was really frustrated with the Chariot thing. And some of the characters are a little more flat, but their relationships are interesting enough that I would at least give it a meh.
All right, and I think that wrapped around the whole way. So I think next we have advertising. Cece, I think you're starting this one.
Advertising. Okay, so if we're talking about like the figures, because this is the figure category, that's not something I'm super into. But if we're talking like as a whole, selling the franchise, I am very interested in playing this game now. Yeah, it's apparently a PSP exclusive. I'm gonna have to find a dolphin
Is
to
that
ride.
still a thing?
Well, nothing's put out on the PSP anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
wondering.
No, it's an older game, and I don't think it's been ported to anything, so I'm gonna have to ride the dolphin.
Yeah, it's definitely emulatable.
Yeah, can I count the games under advertising?
I guess so. It's a media franchise, I suppose.
Then,
I mean, it's selling you something,
yeah, I'm sold. It's EA for me.
although you're not technically buying it.
Shh. That's illegal. I would never.
But would you if it was available?
If it was available, I would purchase it.
Okay.
I'm not really sure if I can have a solid say in this because the anime was the last thing put out in the franchise. So, like, it couldn't really sell me on anything because I already had most of it. So, I think I might need to just withhold from this one because I don't know what I would say otherwise.
If you hadn't been into it before.
I don't know, though, is the thing. Because, like, I'm going into it with the experience. I've already watched this all the way through. If I, like, tried to remove myself, I don't know.
I mean, if you want to abstain from a yay nay type situation, we've done that in the past on this.
I would say I wouldn't buy the figures, but that's more because I'm not a figure person. And also, a lot of the figures were of Black Rock Shooter because guys are really gross and they're like, that's my waifu. It sold really well. I can tell you that.
Okay. My turn?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where I am. I don't think I'm a yay here because, and maybe you heard me talking at the beginning of this. I really didn't know what was being sold to me here. Yeah, you have some cool things going on with the Otherworld Black Rock Shooter stuff. There's some cool fights and that, and if like that's what you're selling, like maybe I'm a meh here, but I'm probably like more of a light yay, a light nay, honestly, because I guess I wasn't sure what this is about or what it's trying to sell. And this kind of goes to world building as well. I know we're mostly calling this advertising, but in a way it's also the world building, and you're selling the world and the media franchise and everything like that.
Yeah, that kind of loops back around to what Chibi said earlier. Like, this was meant for existing fans.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of an issue for me to kind of try to get into then, because it's like, all right, what's going on here? Like, I don't know what the situation is. You sold me on your real world plot, but, I'm not going to buy anything off of that. I don't know what the deal is with the rest of this stuff. Is it a game? Is it, figures, action figures type stuff? I mean, obviously, like, we've been saying stuff about figures and things like that. But, yeah, I don't know. So, as far as the advertising of it goes, it looks interesting, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with this.
I think for me, knowing that this is a wider franchise and world, I think I would be interested in exploring that and seeing what else there is, because I did like the fights and I really like some of the character designs. Is the red lady like the counselor?
No.
Yeah.
The older lady.
No.
I
Definitely.
thought she looked really cool. Like, I would buy a figure of that. So there are certain designs I really liked. I think it was cool overall, but I guess, like, it's kind of meh because I also didn't know exactly what I was being sold. If I'm just trying to think of this as an advertisement, I don't know exactly. Like, I'm interested, but I guess a little Like, I don't know. So, I don't know. I'd say meh. Like, I'm kind of in the middle, 50-50 on it. Like, I would want to see more, but also I'm not gonna open my wallet immediately, I guess. So, meh.
For me, as someone who went into this completely 100% blind, not knowing a thing about it at all, it made me interested in seeing what else is in the franchise. But if you were to tell me that this is an advertisement for figures, I wouldn't say it'd be that great of an advertisement because, in all honesty, there's figures for every single type of anime genre out there. There's anime figures for slice of life shows, so like it's not like it has to be tailor made to sell figures, and I don't think it really did a good job of selling it, especially compared to our competitor that we'll talk about in a little bit. So yeah, it's a meh for me. It told me to get interested in the franchise, but not to go into the figures.
Okay, I think that's it. We can go now into production. Cozy, you're leading this off. What'd you think?
Yeah, production's a solid yay. Actually, I might put that at a light yay. They had very successful iterations behind this. They knew what they were doing. I will say, and this is probably because it was an 8-episode thing, the 50-minute animation was definitely a lot higher production value, but that was only 50 minutes compared to however long total runtime the 8 episodes are. Like, the art style is good. I don't feel like the mixture of 3D into this probably weirded anyone out. Their scores are pretty amazing and usually fit the scene they're in. And I don't think I noticed any real, major flaws.
Yeah. I'm definitely a yay here. It looks gorgeous. Like, especially, I think we were comparing this earlier to Madoka Magica. That's a compliment in every sense. When you get to the actual Blackrock shooter stuff, it's gorgeous. It's stunning to look at. And the fight choreography and everything else is it's very visually interesting to watch. I think you're right about the score. I am not a Vocaloid fan. I don't get it. I understand what it is. It just never appealed to me. But even the fact that it's got an opening from Vocaloid does not detract from me. So yeah, it's full on yay. And honestly, I gotta say, I think last week I gave full yay to Gundam Build Fighters for this. And I think part of that is, yeah, they have a history. I'm not gonna hold it against these guys for they've had previous stuff with this, and so that's why they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Good for them. They got it.
Yeah, I would also give this a yay. I mean, it looked great, just like you said. I don't have much to add to that because you said pretty much my thoughts. I mean, it definitely had that Modica vibe in certain places, and I enjoyed that. The aesthetics were great. The character designs overall, I think, are really good, and I don't know, it looked great to me. I liked the music. I actually liked the Vocaloid songs. They definitely didn't bother me. I thought they were pretty good. And I think they kind of added to the overall vibe, so I like that. I just really like the aesthetics overall. Of course, the normal world didn't look as great as the other world that we're talking about, but, it was kind of supposed to just look ordinary, and it still looked pretty good for what it was. So I think overall, the production was good and definitely did what it set out to do, so it's a yay for me.
Yeah, pretty much what everyone else was saying. I really enjoyed the animation. The animation overall was great. I actually watched the dub this time instead of the sub, and I thought the dub cast did pretty well. And the music obviously was really good. And I guess I wasn't paying much attention. I didn't realize that was Vocaloid, but it sounded good to me. So yeah, everything's really great, and it still kind of holds up even 11 years later. I had to do math in my head. So yeah, it's a yay for me.
Yeah, yay from me. I don't think there's anything I can add that hasn't already been said. So, yay.
Cool. So that goes into final thoughts. I'm starting this one off. I'm kind of a meh here. I think there are like good things and kind of like some drawbacks to it. I think kind of, the fact that it's sort of one of those shows that kind of requires you to actually already know a lot about it already makes it a little difficult to get invested, but also it does look amazing. And, the characters are interesting enough on their own that it does kind of engage you a little bit. So I'm kind of in that spot of like, I could continue this and possibly enjoy it, or I could go watch something else and enjoy that. But I feel like it's one of those, like, it's kind of like right on the edge of like, just a little nudge one way or the other is going to throw me completely to one side or the other. So I don't really know. I'm just sort of a meh here. Not to say that it is meh, it's just sort of like, I don't know.
For me, I would give it a light yay. I think that it has enough potential in terms of the world and the characters, that I would be interested in seeing where it goes. I'm hoping that the Black Rock shooter world goes somewhere. I'm hoping it is connected in some way, like I think it might be, but now people are making me doubt that that's true, so I'm not sure. But I'd be interested even in other, other media to see what that world's about and more about those characters. But I'd still be interested in continuing this one because I am invested in the girls and their normal lives. I think it made for a good slice of life either way. So I think I would probably want to watch more, and it's a pretty short series, so why not finish it? So I feel like I would definitely give it a light yay. I liked it overall.
Well, it balances, because I'm a very easy audience to please.
It. I don't want to say I was fully invested, but I was intrigued. I kind of have like a mixture of a lot of your guys' opinions because I do find the world interesting and I'm interested to see where it goes. I also did kind of feel that little pretentious vibes at times that Al was mentioning earlier. Not as much, but I kind of felt it a little bit too. Like, oh, are we just not gonna? Are we not supposed to get it? But I mean, I do get it. And again, as someone who's never even heard of this, I thought the story was fine, and I thought, it had enough intrigue and enough, okay, does the fight world represent the girl's internal struggles, and that this character is representing, the girls trying to get through their struggles, and how no matter how often you get beat up, how do you come back and overcome the odds? So that's what I kind of took from it personally. And plus, again, it's only 8 episodes, so if I wanted to finish it, it's not like it's a major time commitment. So I'd say it's a yay for me.
It's an A for it's a yay for me. Just give
Uno
every
reverse
category
card.
a yay, and then at the end I'm like, actually overall it's an A.
It's a nay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm probably going to finish the series out and then also see if I can get my hands on the game. I'm very interested in where this all goes. Wish they were a little bit older, but not much you can do about that.
I think they are in other parts.
That'd be nice.
I've been pretty harsh on it in the categories just because I'm basing it all off of like the first 3 episodes, but like overall I'm a yay. Like it feels kind of like cheating, but like I know where this goes and I know what's coming up, and like I'm excited to rewatch it. So like it hasn't lost any of like its value from the first time I have, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so that's everybody. That's Black Rock Shooter. So we move now to our contender against them, Transformers, the original Gen 1. Yeah, Gen 1 Transformers from 1984. I wanted to bring this up because this is... Yin was asking me about this. Is this an anime? And I'm going to put it as yes. It is... We should... Just the basics of Transformers. This was a toy franchise first that was created by Takara Tomy, which is a toy company. It was also licensed by Hasbro, and then Marvel Productions wanted to make a TV show about it, and they got in contact with Sunbow Productions from Japan, and so it was animated in Japan and is based on Japanese toys. I'm going to say that's enough to say it's an anime.
I did not realize Transformers started fully in Japan. Like, I knew when we were discussing the tournament, we looked into it and found out it was animated in Japan. I did not know the toys originated over there.
Yeah, I will not butcher the 6 names of the inventors who came up with them, but yes, they were all with Takara Tomy at the time, or were hired eventually. I don't know if they designed them first and then it got bought by Tomy or what it is, but yeah. So this is, if you don't know what Transformers Robots in Disguise are, they are robots from another planet that came to Earth and fight, Autobots versus Decepticons, and they transform into, well, pick something from a series. They turn into vehicles, they turn into animals, they turn into all sorts of different stuff. So, I mean, it's a very basic and easy premise to get to. For this series, they crash landed millions of years ago after escaping Cybertron. They were the Autobots, and then the Decepticons chased them. And
energy.
Yeah, and they're gonna steal the resources of Earth to rocket themselves back to Cybertron and take over with a big super weapon. And the Autobots are trying to stop the Decepticons, and the Decepticons are bad guys. And it's a very, I don't know. Are we missing anything?
It's meant for children.
Yeah, it's kind of for children. Yin, I think you're starting. Why don't you tell us what you thought of the plot?
Okay. I thought it was alright. I think I faded out a little bit. I was in and out. It didn't keep my attention very well, but I can see the appeal in it. I feel like if I was a slightly different person, I would really enjoy it. But I think as is, I don't know, it doesn't super appeal to me. I think it had enough stakes, the bad guys were interesting enough, and the conflict itself, it's a pretty typical conflict, but, they're, I don't know, they're just the good and the bad, I guess. To me, there wasn't, too much depth to it or anything. Like you guys said, it's for children, and, it's pretty straightforward. I thought the human guy served very little purpose. It was kind of weird, but I guess maybe that's more characters. I don't know. I thought the plot was okay. I guess I'd give it a meh.
I had a lot of fun with this. Like I mentioned earlier, my only experience with Transformers is Nerd Osmosis and the first 4 Michael Bay movies. And after watching these first 3 episodes, I can totally understand why a lot of Transformers fans hated those movies, because you took an established property that works, focusing on giant ass fucking robots that transform and are beating the shit out of each other. But instead with those movies, you focus more on the human characters and dirty sex jokes and Megan Fox's body. So yeah, I can kind of see why fans were pissed off back in the day. It's a very simple concept. It's a very simple toy. It's a very simple premise. You can on it. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's ingenious marketing. We'll get into that later. But it's meant to sell toys. But you know what? They kind of, the characters aren't original, but it's an 80s show, so every character's cliche, but they have something that kind of stands out about them in a way where even if it is one note, okay, this one's Bumblebee, this one's Ironhide.
Hold some of that for character for a little bit, but
yeah, I know, but as far as the plot is concerned, I mean, everyone knows that, they fight on Cybertron, the Autobots versus the Decepticons led by the evil Megatron wanting to rule the planet. I did not know. I mean, I knew they went to Earth, but I didn't know going in that they were, basically rusting away on a ship for millions of years, and they just happen to get randomly lucky. It's almost like Avengers Endgame in a way, where like a random rat saves the universe, or like a random, I guess, something causes the Decepticons to get on thought or something like that.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, it's enjoyable. I had a lot of fun with it. Like, am I gonna, marathon the whole series? Probably not, but it was still a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun enjoying it.
For me, it was a light yay. This is gonna sound like an insult, but when I stopped trying to pay attention to it, I really enjoyed it. I just started like playing a game or doing something else, and having it on in the background was really nice. Kind of like a dating show or HGTV or whatever. Like you don't gotta focus too hard on it. If you get that invested, there's something wrong with you. But like having it going on in the background.
You're a kid at that point.
Oh yeah. But like having it in the background while I was doing other things was very nice. I quite enjoyed looking up and watching them transform. Also a note, Kozi, I don't recall if it was on or off air, but last week you said something about me only liking giant robots when they were in like live action movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been haunting me for the last week. I cannot think of a single giant robot movie I've ever seen.
LMAO.
So I don't know.
Well, we got
where
a couple things to add to the list then.
I don't know where you got that theory, but I would love to see your work.
Even though you haven't seen Pacific Rim, like, I know you like the premise of Pacific Rim.
If I may, it might have come as a result of you just saying that you didn't like giant robots in animation.
Maybe.
Then maybe it was just like an assumption out of that.
I think what we've learned is that we should all watch Pacific Rim again.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Next anime, yay or nay? It's basically anime.
It really is, though. Like, that one actually is basically anime.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it for a later date.
Yeah, light yay.
I'm gonna give it like a solid yay. I'm trying to be gentle with it and view it through like the lens of what they were like marketing to, because obviously we're not the target audience. And even though like we find it boring, the plot was very clear and concise and to the point. It established everything we kind of needed to know about the series going forward. And also, Transformers, as I remember it, was very episodic. Like, I don't know if it's just because this is the first 3 episodes and it was like a 3-parter, but like having like the overarching like plot tie-in was nice.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're remembering it incorrectly. It is a very episodic show, and to some degree, even these episodes were a little episodic in nature. I'm giving it a light yay, and I'm not trying to be, like, nice to it because it's made for a younger audience. I think, like you said, it did establish its entire premise, more or less, in these episodes, and established it well, I think. I mean, it's very clear what's happening, why it's happening, and what we're going to be doing moving forward. My only detraction would be, like, a lot of scenes are kind of interchangeable a little bit. You know, it is a plot, and it is, you know, moving from like crash land, get the energy, try to leave again, sabotage, and all sorts of things like that. But at the same time, other than like landing on Earth and trying to leave Earth, a lot of the stuff in the middle is very interchangeable, and I think that's part of why it's so easy to watch in the background. But so it's not overly complicated. It's not really like gonna make you think that much, which is why I'm not giving it like a full on wow, that's an amazing yay for plot. But you know, for as simple as it is, it did quite a bit and did it very effectively. So I'll give it a light yay, bordering on full on for me. It's characters next, Chibi.
Yeah, I mean, they're very simple characters, like I mentioned earlier. I mean, they kind of have like one or two like basically character traits that you basically I use to identify them. But I still enjoyed them. I mean, you got Optimus Prime, voiced by the legendary Peter Cullen. He's still doing it after all these years, and
Mm-hmm.
he's amazing. It was weird hearing Bumblebee actually talk because, again, I guess the Michael Bay movies ruined it for me. Where at least in the Michael Bay ones, he only talked versus like through the radio, like whatever came through, which I guess is kind of clever. But at the same time, if he talked like a normal Transformer in the cartoon, why would they change that in the movie? Whatever. I'm not going into a tangent, but yeah. And obviously you got Megatron. He's the big bad guy. There's nothing, he's he's an '80s villain. He's an '80s cartoon villain. It's like Skeletor. It's like Cobra Commander. It's like name your '80s villain there. He's just evil, but he's a fun evil. I enjoyed Starscream being treated like the little bitch he was. I got a big kick out of that. I really liked Soundwave as a villain. I thought he was really cool, and he's got mini Transformers inside himself.
Dude was fucking carrying the team. Was what he was doing.
Yeah, he was. I mean, considering that in like how all of them transform, Megatron only transforms into a gun, just a regular pistol.
But it's much smaller than he is.
Yeah. But yeah, now I didn't know whether to bring this up in production or characters, but one thing I will give the Michael Bay movies is they're easy to tell for the most part which one's a Decepticon, which one's an Autobot. There were times when they were fighting, I got confused. Minus, Soundwave and Starscream and Megatron. I sometimes got confused which one was an Autobot, which one was a Decepticon personally. So that kind of got confusing a little bit to me.
That's kind
I guess
of the
that's more of a production thing.
Like, they're all the same species. Like, they should all look alike.
Oh, so now all Transformers look alike? Racist.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It was just more of identifying what characters were on the screen, but like as far as the actual characters and stuff, like I in good conscience can't. Oh, and I guess another thing is I don't know. Again, this is me never watching the original series, but I don't know how involved the human characters get on or get involved with the story. I know it runs for a lot of episodes, so maybe the humans get more involved, but the regular human characters, I forget their names. Like the son and the father, you meet them when they get rescued from the oil rig, and then within the span of like maybe a couple of weeks or a month, the son's like, "Yeah, I want to go to Cybertron with you guys." It's like, what?
Right.
You want to go to a planet millions of light years away with these giant ass fucking robots? You probably don't even know if there's oxygen on that planet. Okay, sure,
He
pal.
just wanted to fuck a robot. That was it.
I'm gonna give you the ride of your life. That line stuck out to me. I'm sorry.
You're right.
Oh, I forgot about that line. But
Canon.
yeah, overall, it's a light yay, but it's the characters are still enjoyable. It's just they're nothing too deep.
Deep.
Damn it.
Yeah, for me, they're a yay. They're robots and they can transform into other things. It doesn't get much cooler than that. I will say I had the same issue as Envy. I could not always tell who were the good guys and who were the bad guys, especially when I wasn't watching the screen. But, like, usually you just have to wait a second, and then one of them would be like, haha, it's great to be evil. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That clears it up.
I'm gonna give characters a yay. I feel like they all have their own distinct and, like, very unique personalities, even if it's, like, very tropey. Bumblebee's kind of like the little upshoot kid who's, like, joined the war effort. Optimus Prime is, like, your stoic leader. Like you said, Starscream is just a little fucking bitch who's trying to, like, ride the coattails of the Decepticons who do way better than him. And I just, like, it's simple. It's simple and easy.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a meh here. I gotta be honest. We introduced like 30 Transformers in these 3 episodes. I genuinely only feel like 3 or 4 of them had a personality. I kind of hear what you guys are saying, but like, yeah, okay, they have some team dynamics. That's cool. I really only know Optimus. He's the hero. Megatron, he's the villain. Starscream, he's the guy trying to one up the villain, and then Soundwave's carrying the team. Honestly, a lot of the you guys were saying like, oh, when you visually a lot of the Autobots and the Decepticons kind of like mesh together. I don't think any Decepticon has a personality outside of the ones I mentioned, and the Autobots are all various degrees of like John Wayne impressions. So I don't really know that there's a whole lot of character here. Here's the thing, I can't judge this based on what I do know, that there will be a lot more actual character development as it keeps going. I think this was much more of a plot-based couple episodes where they were establishing everything, and I'm thinking after they get you in, then they'll throw more, like, actual character stuff at you, but as is, it's not really here that much, so I'm kind of a meh on it, unfortunately.
Oh, I forgot one thing I can say real quick. Only one of all the Transformers talked like a robot.
You mean Soundwave?
Yeah. Soundwave. Like, was that just a personal choice for him? He's like, I'm going to talk like this because I am a robot, and everybody else is like, the fuck are you doing?
Do they have a concept of themselves being robots, though?
I mean, I think they know that they're mechanical in nature.
Yeah, but they also have, like, a biological element to themselves.
Yeah, are they robots? That was something I was really confused about.
Is any part of them organic? Because that would technically make them cyborgs, right?
Well, a cyborg is a modified organic thing that's been modified with artificial things. I think, they might go into this later in this, but I think to some degree the Michael Bay movies, I hate to bring them up, but they kind of describe them as sort of sentient living metal beings. Like,
it would be exactly
how
like
we
Zoids.
have cells. Yeah, kind of like that. You know how we have cells that are all individually programmed to do a function and whatnot? Think of the same thing with like nanobots or something. And they make up the parts and pieces of the Transformers. And they make it into bodies.
Built.
Yeah, how did they come into existence?
Okay, look,
can they feel pain?
We are not going to go into that much about,
if they're not
Transformers reproduction
cells,
thing,
like big banging themselves, like.
Look, we know the Jeep was propositioning the kid. We know it. Okay, it brings Shinji getting the robot to an entirely different meaning. Okay,
oh no,
I'd rather not go into it here.
Anyway,
more than reproduction, do they have nerve endings?
Yes, please go. Please go.
Feel pain?
Please go now.
They can feel pain.
Yes, they can feel pain. Please, Yin, start. Yin, ignore them. Start.
Okay. So, I felt like it was kind of like mad to me as well. Mostly just for most of the reasons you said. I liked the characters that we got their personalities. Like, I feel like they have a very iconic vibe. I don't know how else to put it, but it's kind of like in Scooby-Doo or something like that, where it's like, each character, is tropey, but they just feel so memorable and iconic that it's like, I can see why people attach to these characters so much and why people love characters like, the main guy. Well, who is he? Optimus Prime?
Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, like, why people love characters like that, I can see it, because sometimes tropiness works. I don't know, and it just works here. So I like the characters we did see enough of, but yeah, half of the cast was kind of, probably actually more like 70% of the cast was like, I don't know who you are exactly. So I would give it a meh, pretty much what Al said.
I think that's everyone for that. Envy, do you want to take us into advertising?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you want to talk about, you want to talk about I don't even know if it's the gold standard, but it's like one of the prime examples of. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that pun there, but it's one of the gold standards of advertisement. I mean, these were made to sell. This anime was made to help sell the toys, and Transformers has been around nearly 40 years for a reason. It's literal robots that transform into vehicles and vice versa, and fight the shit out of each other. If you're a little kid, how do you not want to have one of those? I mean, I never watched it as a kid, so that's why I never had any toys. But I imagine if I did watch this as a kid, you bet your ass I would want some of those figures as a kid. So yeah, it's like the ultimate version of a yay when it comes to advertising. It's like super yay.
Yeah, I agree. It's a yay. I did not watch the show or the movies growing up. I might have watched the first Michael Bay movie, like, in health class one day when my teacher was hungover. But,
Hold up. Can we
Health
please
class.
stop bringing up the Transformers in regards to reproductive sciences? Enough. We're not doing this anymore.
We're gonna keep doing it until the answer comes to us.
Stop saying come.
my teacher was hungover. We watched a lot of movies in that class. It feels
That's
kind of
fun.
familiar, so it might have been one of them. I could also just be mixed. That was Shia LaBeouf, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I might be thinking of the Indiana Jones movie that we don't talk about.
Well, he was in both, so
Yeah, so it could be either one. I'm not sure.
Maybe your gym teacher was just a Shia LaBeouf fan.
Maybe. Where was I going? Oh, but in spite of that, I do think me and my brother had a Transformer or two. It was fun to, like, fold them up. They're like stim toys. It's like baby's first stim toy. Also, I have a Jeep. Why isn't she propositioning me? The answer is because she's a baby, but...
Do not try to fuck our car.
The ride of your life.
Anyway, that's a yay from me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've ridden in your car. I'm not thinking that whenever I'm riding in your car again.
Because she's a baby.
Sure.
Chibi, I still need help hiding a body. Yeah, I'm a yay. I had tons of Transformers growing up as a kid. The fact that they like actually worked and you could flip them from a Transformer to their vehicle, fucking chef's kiss. Brilliant toy design.
Have you guys seen like the new $800 figures that like actually like do look like the legit startup, like it's like from the cartoon?
Whoa.
Yeah, look it up. Like, there's one guy who collects toys. It's like an $800 at Optimus Prime, and it comes with, you say Optimus Prime transform or Autobots roll out, and he does it, and he actually has Peter Collins'
it's voice commanded?
Yes.
That's
You
so
gotta
cool.
look at it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
We have,
ridiculous.
hey, come a long way in 40 years.
Yeah.
I'm a yay here. You're right, this is the gold standard of advertising a toy to children through a TV show. I mean, what else? G.I. Joe? Maybe. No,
Were
it's
the
Transformers.
figures made first for G.I. Joe?
I think so. Yeah. I want to say that they were actually around for like a while, maybe like in the 60s or earlier, and then they had a cartoon in the 80s, actually coming around the same time as this.
G.I. Joe is just propaganda Barbie.
Yeah, a little bit.
True.
Yeah. But, this isn't.
This is
I
not.
mean, maybe
this is
it
cool.
is. I don't know. This is, yeah. It's. I don't want to keep repeating, but it's like, yeah, it's robots turning into vehicles. Yeah, I definitely had a ton of Transformers too. I think mine were from Transformers Armada, which was coming out when I was a kid. So Megatron was a
Yeah.
tank then, I think.
Yeah, Starscream was also not a complete little bitch.
Yeah, no. Good
He
series.
was actually pretty fucking evil.
Do you ever watch the Beast Wars? I know we're going off topic,
Oh,
but
hell yeah.
I know people love that
Hell
series in
yeah.
particular.
Great series.
A little weird, but
It looks a little weird by today's standards, but honestly, really good series. Really good character stuff. awesome stuff. We should probably watch that at some point. But that's a discussion for a later date.
Advertising. You all kind of said everything that I have to say, so I'm just gonna say yay.
Did you have any Transformers?
No. I've never seen a Transformer anything in my life until this time.
Well, now we know what to get you for Christmas.
Oh, well, yeah. Some of them are pretty cool. Give me a Transformer.
Do you want the $800 one?
Yes, please. Give me the $800 Transformer.
It would have to have joint custody.
Yeah, between all of us, we might be able to get the $800 Transformer.
Subscribe to the Patreon that does not actually exist, but I keep plugging every week anyway.
This is the first week you've ever plugged this.
No. Starting from now on, you have to plug it every week.
Did you start one that I don't know about?
I usually say something in the podcast, or whenever we get off topic, I'm like, this is a Patreon conversation. Save it for the Patreon.
You've only ever said that once.
I've said it a couple times.
You have.
Right?
I
You're
edit
saying it in
every
your
video.
head.
You've only said it once.
Okay, first Patreon video is all the times I've mentioned the Patreon.
It'll be 10 seconds.
People will be getting their money's worth.
Yeah, Al doesn't know what CC does with the brand name.
Chibi, say your piece. Okay, yay.
Did
it's
you have
a-
Transformers?
Still
Yes,
counts.
Yeah.
I mean, McDonald's is like one of the gold standards of product placement advertising.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, who didn't have a Happy Meal back in the day?
It's like a gateway drug.
Okay, so production. Cece, you're leading us off. What'd you think?
I feel like I have a thing against 90s or maybe just early 2000s
This was
anime.
1984.
I know, this was 84, and I love it. I really like the grittiness of 80s anime. I think we hit a weird place in the 90s, and I'm glad it went away. But yeah, production is a yay for me.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm a nay. It's ugly as hell.
the duality
designs
of
are
a
really
reviewer.
simple, which again, like, that was probably like toy manufacturing. They had to keep it simple. But like, it's ugly, okay? It's fucking ugly.
I'm a light yay here. I think that this is really good for the time. There's a couple, I think there's a number of spots where they, repeat animation and do stuff like that, little cheats that you sometimes do that you wouldn't notice if you were watching week to week as much. But I do kind of look at it. It does look classic. It looks very... You know what? I'm going to give it a full yay. Yeah. Screw you, Kozi.
It's ugly and janky. And that's what makes it good.
Look me in the eye and tell me it's not janky.
It's janky, and that's why we love it.
It's real. You feel it because they were hand drawing it. You can feel the arthritis in that guy's
maybe
wrist.
they should
that
have been
he was-
better at art.
I'm gonna give it a light yay. I think it does have that, I don't know, that 80s feel that's just, I don't know, nostalgic in a way, even though I didn't exist yet. It just feels nostalgic. And
This
I
came
like
out
that.
over a decade before you were born.
I know, I didn't exist, that's what I'm saying. But I still think I connect to it somehow in my spirit.
God, I miss the 80s. I know I wasn't born until the mid-90s, but I miss the 80s.
Miss the 80s.
Dude, we all...
yeah.
I feel like we all watched that 70s show as well. Same thing.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
it's
farther
saying
removed from that.
nostalgic
I
anyway.
sound so extremely white right now.
I know. We are.
I mean, I never watched that 70s show. So.
I did not.
Ah, you
either.
should give it a try.
What
Anyhow,
about that 90s show? I hear it's bad.
yeah, it's pretty bad. I think overall it's fun to watch. It makes me think of childhood, even though I did not watch it as a child. I think it feels similar to shows that I did watch as a child, and I get deja vu from it, so I like that. It's a yay-ish, a light yay, because it does look a little janky, but for the time, I guess it's fine, and it gives me good vibes, so it's a light yay.
We wore were the last group with VHS. I think it might have that kind of vibe.
Wait,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would have watched it on a
El,
VHS.
can you remind me, what was Zoid's original production date?
99.
Okay.
As for me with the production, I mean, I gotta keep in mind when it came out, 1984. It's nearly 40 years old, but it's still. I mean, granted, the original Scooby Doo show was in 1969. I still think it has a charm to it that still holds up. So, for something that came out, that many years later, I still think it. Obviously, if you compare it to modern cartoons, obviously it doesn't hold up, but in a weird way, it still has that charm factor. The only nitpicks I have are what I mentioned earlier about about the confusing robots, and I don't know if this is a complaint, but take a shot every time they do a that transition.
That is one of the most
Smashed.
iconic transitions in TV history.
I know. I'm just
That
saying,
is right
like,
up there with the Batman.
That
But,
one's
like,
so
they do it-
good.
They do it like 10 times an episode.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Yeah, that one.
So yeah, for its time, it's a yay for me.
All right. So, final thoughts. Kozi, you're leading us off.
I personally wouldn't continue it. I like some of the later cartoons that we already talked about. And, like, it was a really core part of my childhood, but, like, I'm so picky about art style. It's really hard to get over that for me. I had to tune out a lot of this show just to get through the 3 episodes. So, pretty strong nay for me. It's really hard for me to get past how ugly it looks.
Yeah, I'm a yay here. I thought the show was fun. I liked the little bits of action that we got and the interaction with characters and stuff. They actually had some, we didn't really mention, they like have some jokes every now and then, or that are kind of dad jokes, but they are still fun and add some character to it, even if the character is very thin. I mentioned
The noise
that.
you made.
Yeah. But yeah, still, I definitely did enjoy this, and whether this goes forward or not, I think I might actually continue watching some of this, because I think I have had some, I've watched some other series, and that like it would be kind of nice even outside of this to go back to see where it all kind of came from a little bit.
I would say I'm pretty meh. I think I liked it well enough what I saw, but I don't have a strong desire to continue it. I think maybe I could watch it in the background while doing stuff, but I don't have any real drive to watch more, so... But I think what I saw was good. Like, I totally understand why people love this show and why it's a classic. So I think, like, I can't give it a nay, even though I personally probably wouldn't continue. I can see so many good attributes about it that I'm just gonna give it a meh.
So this is kind of a complicated answer for me. Obviously, I really enjoyed this show a lot, and normally I would say yay. I guess for my own personal life, with me working and me having a massive addiction, I need intervention for anime and video games. I don't know if I have the time to put in to watch all 100 plus episodes, but I'm going to still say yay, because obviously if I was a kid and I was stupid not to watch the reruns when it probably aired on Cartoon Network or Toonami, or not Toonami, Boomerang, but yeah, it's still a yay.
I'd like to point out they max out at 98 episodes.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well-
those 2
Oh.
episodes make all the difference.
There you go.
Well,
you can totally
hold
squeeze
up.
that in now.
It's the last 2 episodes are filled up by a movie where Unicron shows up.
Unicron?
Is he a
Yeah, he's a
unicorn?
planet.
Yeah,
Oh.
Oh, I thought you changed into
no,
Unicron.
yeah, I even I knew who Unicron was. And did you ever see the Transformers movie out, like the the famous animated movie from the 80s.
You mean the one where the planet is voiced by Orson Welles?
What?
Yes, and
Whoa.
it had the big twist that everyone remembers from the movie.
Ease
I won't say what
yourself,
it is.
because at some point we
Yeah.
might just have to watch it after we watch all 98 episodes of this series. Yes, no, I'm well aware of it.
Although I heard the movie takes place in between like seasons of the show. It doesn't take place at the very end of the timeline. So
Still, I think that was Orson Welles' last film role. Was
Really?
as a giant transforming planet.
yeah, it's like Raul Julia. His last film was the Street Fighter movie, and
We should watch that at some point.
And Vincent Price's last movie was like an Ed Wood movie or something like that.
What was Vincent Price's last thing? You guys keep talking. I need to look that up real quick.
Great. Okay, I think overall this is going to be like a light yay to a light meh for me. Like, I enjoyed my time here. Probably am not going to actively seek to watch more of it unless it's on in the background. And I don't know how much of it I'll absorb at that point. Just another thing I forgot I wanted to bring up. At the end of the 3rd episode, the Autobots stop the Decepticons from stealing all the fuel and return it to Earth, and Earth is so grateful that they just let the Autobots have it. And it's like, what's the point? And the one
Get
kid,
this.
It's how they went about it.
Skippy or whatever his name is like, I think it's the first time every politician in the world has agreed on something. It's like, okay, this
Yeah, I
isn't
didn't buy
Earth. That had me giggles at the end there. So yeah, light yay.
Okay, so that's it for that. Before we go into, the real yays and nays of this, I just want to point out, because we mentioned Vincent Price, his last movie was Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Heck of a thing to go out on. Good movie. Okay, so Black Rock Shooter versus Transformers.
Let's do
Let's
it.
get into it. Oh, I'm leading us off. Okay, so plot. I'm going for Transformers on this one. I think, as simple as it was a lot more, it was just easier to follow and just, go with, and stuff happening, I guess.
For me, I would personally go with Black Rock Shooter. I felt myself more engaged, and I could tell you everything that happens, whereas I kind of zoned out a few times on the other one. I think Transformers was still good overall on plot, but I think I preferred Black Rock Shooter, so I'll give it to that one.
Obviously, Black Rock Shooter has, I guess, more complex themes and more complex, storytelling. It's, you gotta, think about, what does this world mean? What does the other world in the real world mean? Stuff like that. But yeah, Transformers, it is simpler. It's a simple premise. It's a simple characters, simple motivations, but sometimes simple is better. Sometimes it's more of, okay, you got a clear goal, you got a clear objective, you got a clear, focus, and malicious intentions behind the scenes. It's a lot more simple, and it's a lot easier to understand at times. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Transformers too.
I love a simple plot, but I think Transformers was just a little too simple for me. Black Rock Shooter kept me engaged more, so I'm gonna give it to Black Rock Shooter.
Oh, fuck me. I'm honestly kind of torn, because if I'm just basing it off of 3 episodes, I would say the simple, clear, concise would be better, but I know the plot of Black Rock Shooter, and I enjoy the plot of it way more than I do Transformers.
Unfortunately, you got to go based on these 3 episodes. I dealt with this. I dealt with this last year whenever my hero was in the competition for the Shonen Showdown. I knew it was coming, but yet I, had to base it solely on the first 3 episodes.
What?
So.
Since you
Bruh,
said
that was 2 years
I'm
ago.
being contrarian to that. I don't like being told what to do. So fine, Black Rock Shooter.
Okay, well, Gav's not here to be a tiebreaker, so we'll see if we have to come back to this.
All right.
Moving on to characters. Yin, you're starting this.
Characters. I think they were both kind of meh for me, so this is kind of hard. It's like, I do feel like the Transformers ones were pretty iconic, but also the rest were kind of blank slates. I feel like that one girl really annoyed me in Black Rock Shooter, but I was actually pretty attached to everybody else. So aside from her story arc, the way it ended, like, I liked the characters a lot more in terms of being attached. And I liked her as a villain, just not as a good guy. So maybe I'll give it to Black Rock Shooter just because I felt more attached to the other characters than I did to the majority of the Transformers ones. But I do think the Transformers ones maybe were more iconic, but I was less attached. I think I'll still give it to Black Rock Shooter.
It's tough for me because I do agree that, most of the characters from Transformers don't get much, if any, development. Like the humans, like why are they initially there after episode 2? And then, obviously only Starscream, Soundwave, Megatron, and a few of the Autobots got any sort of development. But on the other hand, Black Rock Shooter, it's more setting up the characters' backstories, setting up their initial personalities for the final 5 episodes. So do I go with setup or do I go with classic? I guess they're both setups in a way, but do you go with interesting down the line or your standard trope? It's really tough for me. I might give the very slight edge to Black Rock Shooter, but like by the smallest of margins. Although, Optimus Prime, you still rock.
I think I'm going to give it to Transformers because they're just cool. You can't beat how dope they are.
I am going to again give it to Black Rock Shooter just because the characters feel like actual fleshed out characters versus like
Metal.
caricatures of tropes. Like, it felt like the Transformers just needed to, like, fill the spots, which is nice because they all have, like, their own unique characteristics, but, like, that is where their character starts and ends.
Kozi, it'd be so easy for me to just say Transformers and make it a tie again. But
you can if it's truthful.
I was very clear that I was saying that although I didn't enjoy the plot of Black Rock Shooters as much, the characters they really put a lot of emphasis on. And although I more enjoyed the plot of Transformers, the characters I don't feel like they did put as much emphasis on. So I will give my vote to Black Rock Shooters, and Black Rock Shooters takes the yay for characters. Chibi, why don't you take us into advertising?
Sweet.
Okay, so we just asked,
agree?
Is anyone not gonna go with Transformers?
The Transformers.
No.
Sweet.
It's all Transformers.
Everybody's Transformers. Okay, yeah.
Okay, Chibi, go into final thoughts. Or which one is better?
No, it's production.
No, we have another category. Envy.
Oh, what's the other?
Envy,
Oh,
you have to take us into
about...
production.
No,
we
let Chibi go first, because... Yeah, let Chibi...
Chibi was taking advertising, but it was just, yeah. Envy, you're up.
This was, whenever this matchup was first brought up last week, this was like my first initial thought. Okay, you have a show from 2012, which is, in the context of things, still recent, with really good animation, really good voice casts, and, really good sense of atmosphere. And then you obviously have a show that was made in 1984 that was made to sell toys, so they probably didn't have the biggest budget in the world.
It's kind of stacked.
Do you go based on the novelty of Transformers, given what it was back in the day, or do you go with something that's, modern? So I guess it kind of goes for what appeals to you more, and I still had a great time watching Transformers for what it was, but one thing I did like about Black Rock Shooter that I didn't really talk about was its animation and how it kind of had its own little vibe to it. that kind of, drew me in, like in its mystique in a way. So I guess for that reason, I'll give it the Black Rock Shooter.
I was going to straight up say Black Rock Shooter. Envy almost convinced me to switch there by talking about how
That was not my intention.
saying like how Transformers is from the 80s. They didn't have a great budget. It was just meant to push toys. And it still kind of holds up. So I kind of want to give it to them for that, but I think I'm still going to give it to Black Rock Shooter.
This honestly reminds me of when we did the Shonen Showdown. One of the matchups was Dragon Ball Z versus Attack on Titans. It's like almost like kind of the same thing in a way.
I forget who won that matchup.
It was Dragon Ball Z.
Well, I do
Art style won.
Production is kind of stacked. I would argue that advertising was definitely stacked in this one. So, yeah, Black Rock Shooter. Transformers was ugly as hell. I'm not gonna let it go.
So badly. I just want to say Transformers. Just because you are being so like,
Yeah,
I hate it. I'm like, it makes me so badly want to say no to you.
I think either of us following the other up is just kind of like a bad idea in this.
Well, it's unfortunate because you always say your name last.
Yeah.
Okay, screw it. I'm going first now.
So, Transformers does hold up remarkably well. We didn't really bring up its theme song, which we can include in production, which is kind of one of the iconic theme songs.
It's a jingle.
Again, a lot of it, and I think, Yin, you brought up this the most, it's a very iconic series.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take anything away from that, but Black Rock Shooter was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And I can't think of giving it to anything other than that.
Yeah. I mean, for all the reasons most of you said, I would also give it to Black Rock Shooter. I think it just looked better overall, even though I do think Transformers was pretty fine for its time. I think Black Rock Shooter just aesthetically was more interesting. I think it just had a little bit more personality and a little bit more of its own edge than Transformers did, because Transformers did look a lot like other shows coming out around that time. So I'm gonna give it to Black Rock Shooters.
Can I add on to that? Like, for being out in like 2010 to 2012, like, this animation for Black Rock Shooter was ahead of its time. There is a lot of stuff in the 2010s that looks like absolute dog shit.
It kind of bit off of Madoka, which came out 2 years earlier. You know what? I'm switching my vote to Transformers. Doesn't matter because, yeah, Chibi. Okay, so Black Rock Shooter gets the A for production. Going into final thoughts, Cece, you're starting us off. Go ahead.
The only thing I'm thinking about right now is this is going to be blasphemous on this channel, but I believe Madoka was ugly.
No, it kind of was.
You're entitled to your opinion. You might also be entitled to a hole in the ground.
It was very square.
I think the characters were kind of ugly, but I think the backgrounds of the battle scenes
like their
looked
animations
fantastic.
were good.
Yeah, it's just like that, like paper cutout style. Like, I appreciate they tried to do something different, but I don't think it worked. It freaked me out.
That was the
I think that was the point.
Yeah, it worked too well though. I didn't want to watch it anymore.
I think the witches' layers looked amazing though.
Okay. Anyway, I think overall I'd vote Black Rock Shooter because I'm more likely to continue up on that one.
I'm also going to vote Black Rock Shooter because I want to finish rewatching it and make people watch the original animation, which I think holds up better.
Based on these 3 episodes, I found myself more interested in continuing Transformers. That just worked better for me, for some reason.
I would say I was more engaged and invested in Black Rock Shooter, so I'm gonna give it to that one. And I do want to watch the original animation. It sounds pretty interesting.
I think the vote's already in Black Rock Shooter's favor, so, but,
Well, no, if you
I
voted
guess-
Might be a
Transformer, it would
tie.
tie.
Yeah.
oh, it
Because
is?
Chibi said Transformers,
3-2.
right?
Yeah, we're 3-2.
But
So
there's
if
6
you did
of-
Transformers, you would tie it up.
Oh, that's right. Yep, me do math, yes. Part of me wants to vote Transformers just to throw Al into a literal hell right now, but,
It's not how.
here's the thing. Which show did I personally enjoy more? Probably Transformers. That being said, I'm more intrigued than anything else to see what happens next in Black Rock Shooter, because obviously with Transformers, you get your standard, I don't even know if it's a villain of the week, but like, I guess,
Scheme of the
Decepticon.
week.
It's
Robot?
situation of the week.
Yeah, Decepticon. What does Megatron want to do to take over the world next? Whereas Black Rock Shooter, I have no idea what's going to happen in the last 5 episodes, what direction they'll take. So I guess in that sense, I'll vote Black Rock Shooter.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I was laughing so hard is because in private conversations, I know that CC hates Madoka Magica, despite the fact that she voices Homura in Madoka Magically Abridged, and we always got a big kick out of that. So, I feel like this is like one of the first times she's mentioned her hatred of the show. on
Nah,
the
she's
channel.
mentioned it before. That's okay.
I-
All right.
I did not enjoy it, but
Yeah,
you
you
at
brought
least
that
like
up
the
a
movie?
lot more than our
I
Patreon.
saw the movie.
Oh, shame. The movie was good.
So,
I do like Madoka Magically Abridged though. I had a copy
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
script
plug the
before I was
brand.
casted. I was like, this is hilarious, and they were like, do you want to be in it? I'm like, okay, I'm not doing anything today, I guess. So I do
All
think
right.
I can claim to be a fan of that one.
okay, so back to the task at hand. So, Black Rock Shooter takes the final thoughts, yay, and that gives them 3 yays to take the win. So, Black Rock Shooter is moving on to face Zoids in the coming weeks whenever we circle back to action figures again.
Interesting combo.
Yep. So, we should have a moment to take any other thoughts on Transformers that we want to have said before we head out. Anyone have final thoughts on that? What did you guys watch as far as like Transformers went back in the day? Because like I feel like most of us did not watch this particular series.
No.
I mentioned at the beginning what I've seen. So
I'm gonna veer off of that. Have any of you played any of the Transformer games? Because they are super fun.
I
Nope.
had the Transformers Armada game for it was like probably PlayStation 2, I think.
Fucking loved it. Like half of them were open world, like in a city type setting. Like Spider-Man.
I had the first Spider-Man movie game. Okay, well, if that's our final thoughts on everything, and we'll be seeing you guys for next week, hopefully, when we go into an entirely different category. We're going into card games next week, and we'll be checking out first our bout between Cardfight Vanguard and Build Divide. So, anyone heard of either of these before?
I heard of
Heard
Build
of
Divide
Fight.
quite literally
I've heard of-
last week.
Yeah, when I've had
I've
to
heard of
bring up
Vanguard, but that's about it.
So I think this is probably the first week that all of us are basically going in completely blind, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then this should be interesting. Come back for that and the rest of the tournament as we keep going. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!